You guys, you still here with me? Are you guys still here with me?
Matches, you go out there and you do the best you that you can do, and then and only then will you actually be a contender because you're not worried about the competition. And that's where a lot of people make their mistakes. They're so busy worried about, well, what is WWE going to do? Are we going to try to use this gimmick, try to use that gimmick? Because TNA is a great example of that. When TNA first started, they had the six-sided ring. They had their homegrown superstars. They had AJ Styles. They had Samoa Joe. They had Bobby Roode. And notice the three names that I mentioned, all three of them are now where?
In WWE.
Exactly. Because of the simple fact that they started putting more stock into what WWE had for leftovers instead of their homegrown talent. And where's TNA now? Does anybody really watch TNA?
I don't.
That's a good point. Hey, there he goes.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know what's going on, man. People don't want us to be great. I think Vince McMahon is just dialing it in right now. He's like, look, you guys are mentioning too much AEW. You're mentioning too much AEW. Talk more WWE. Roman Reigns.
Right.
Shield. All right. Go back to who I like it when you guys did the who I. But no. What I was trying to say before, the system didn't want me to be great out here in these streets, is that do you guys, one of the problems that they were having with Dean, or Dean had with creative, that he discussed in the interview, are two things. He said that Vince McMahon liked to do a lot of silly comedy, which didn't fit his character, something to the liking of what Chill was saying earlier. He also said there was one line that he really didn't like when Roman Reigns was diagnosed with leukemia. He said that Vince McMahon wanted to make that part of the storyline and have him poke fun at Roman Reigns for having leukemia. Now, do you guys think that was too far to go in the wrestling business, or is it more so, hey, I understand what Dean Ambrose was saying, that's his friend, but it's not the worst thing that's ever happened on television?
Absolutely not. I think he handled it. I think what he said was, I think it was right for him not to say that. I mean, Vince, we've heard the stories. Vince has this weird sense of humor where he likes the worst. I mean, he's just weird like that. I don't know. He just has this odd sense of humor, and there's no backing off of what he thinks when he has his mind set on it. And we've heard stories. That's why we've heard stories of, don't joke around Vince, because he'll take that joke and really put it on TV, for God's sake. So he's just. So I commend, Moxley for not, saying a line of standing up for that. You know what I'm saying? Because I believe it. I believe because Vince, it's been worse. You know what I'm saying? And and I think that's a strictly ratings move, and Raw's ratings have been shitty for a long time now.
For a
So
long time.
and it's looking bad. It's looking real bad now that AEW has all this momentum now. So you know that's how I feel about it. I you got to switch it up, but I don't see it changing, man.
All right. Lady Great One, do you think that
Well,
point? Oh, okay. I was just gonna make sure you still here.
opinion on the Vince thing. Yeah, I do have an opinion on the Vince thing. Um, it seems like whenever these new companies or these companies seem like they're starting things off in the right direction. They make one fatal error and they try to be like WWE. If AEW doesn't worry about WWE and just continue to put out the best product that they can and focus on their talent instead of worrying about what WWE is doing, then AEW should be fine and will be considered a rival, will be considered a contender in the quote unquote Monday Night Wars. I have to say quote unquote because I know they're going to go to Tuesday nights as the alternative. But 83 weeks, WCW was crushing WWE in ratings. For 83 weeks, they crushed them. Right now, WWE's ratings are tanking. However, do you think that Vince McMahon is not paying attention to this? They are going to do something edgy. They're going to come out with something completely out the box. What may have worked for Vince McMahon, he might need to hand the reins over to Triple H. He may need to hand the reins over to Stephanie. Hell, they may need to make Shane McMahon not the top draw on both rosters. I think that will be a good start. But they're going to come out with something to make those ratings boost. And right now, the Brock party, I'm loving it.
Okay, okay, that's fair. That's fair. So as far as like Dean Ambrose's comment saying that Vince McMahon said that he wanted him to bring up Roman Reigns' leukemia as a way to draw heat, do you feel like that was going too far?
Bringing it up to draw heat. I mean, he attacked Seth at his lowest point when he came out there and used that platform to turn on his brother, so to speak, was actually a highlight for me because everybody's like, oh, when is he going to turn? When is he going to turn? Everybody wanted him to turn heel. Oh my God, he turned heel on the worst day of them all, at the worst time of them all. No, he should have turned heel then. He should have waited. He should have waited. That's wrestling fans. Daniel Bryan said it best, we're fickle. Fickle, fickle, fickle. Now, as a friend standpoint, as a brotherhood standpoint, yes, it was very distasteful for him to mention Roman Reigns as a weakness with his leukemia. However, I think it was more distasteful to actually go about and do it. And he took the high road there and did not mention the illness that can happen to anybody instead of making it a joke. So I give him props on that for not taking that road and disobeying Vince's orders, so to speak, and not doing it.
Okay. I think that I respect Dean Ambrose for saying that's where he drew the line. In the interview, especially somebody that you travel with, that's your road dog. You guys have wrestled all across the globe together. This is not something that you guys want to do just for the wrestling business. Obviously, Roman Reigns meant way more than him than the business, as he should. However, for a lot of people saying that it's too far and Vince McMahon is, sick for wanting to do that, you got to realize it's been much worse said on WWE programming. All right, we pray the majority of indie wrestling fans praise CM Punk for his promo ability, his ability to draw heat and break the fourth wall, and we forget to realize that CM Punk talked smack to Jerry Lawler about his heart health shortly after Jerry Lawler had a heart attack on WWE programming. All right, CM Punk also had Paul Heyman dress up as Paul Bearer when he was feuding with The Undertaker, freshly after Paul Bearer just died. So I mean, I don't think it's the worst thing ever, but I definitely respect Dean Ambrose for saying that he's not going to do it. But there was a lot of people after I listened to that interview that were saying that, oh, that's too far. That just shows how terrible Vince is. I don't think it's terrible. I think we've seen much worse. I just think it's an awkward spot to be put in when feuding with somebody who is like family to you, so to speak. Like if I'm doing a program with one of you guys on WWE or even AEW for that matter, and you guys recently have a death in your family, I'm not gonna do you like that on public television. I'm not gonna open that wound in front of all of those people. But I mean, if I'm a professional and you're a professional and we're not tight like that, I'm gonna be like, hey, I'm gonna run this by you before we go out there, but this is what I'm gonna say, and I think it's gonna draw a little bit of heat. I mean, it can go either way on that one. But do you guys agree with a lot of what his honesty was saying? Do you think that WWE's writing is very cheesy and they need to change the creative process?
100%, 100%. Because it's like I'm putting it like this: look at NXT and look at WWE. When the last time we had a consensus majority decision on NXT takeover being trash? You know what I'm saying? Compared to a WWE pay-per-view. Look who's running NXT. Shawn and Triple H. Look who's over everything. Last call, last say, everything in the cockpit, in the gorilla position, on the main roster. Vince. Look at the difference in the reactions from the takeovers to the cheesy storylines and the promos and everything going on the main roster. I mean, the proof is in the pudding right there. So that's all I got to say about that.
I will definitely agree with you there, Chill. I have not seen a takeover where I was bored.
Exactly.
I found myself many a times on the main roster getting up and having bathroom breaks, getting up and going and playing on my phone, playing on Facebook, on the Game Runners in our social media group, just trying to find some other ways to occupy my time during a long, boring, drawn-out match, which there seems to be a lot of nowadays. Some stuff that doesn't make any sense, and some matches that didn't need to be on the main card. They could have been on a pre-show, and where the pre-show show should have been on the main card. But I digress. With Vince heading up creative, I know the old man still has some tricks left up his sleeve, but I think that the old man needs to focus on the XFL that's coming out next year and go ahead and hand those reins over. I've said it before, I said it again. And yes, I would love to see Shane McMahon in yet another pay-per-view. Oh, wait, we're getting that. Yay. Shane McMahon, yet again, putting his life on the line. Yay. Go, Shane McMahon. Yay. Yay.
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely going to agree with it. I mean, if anybody has been watching WWE for the past, I would say at least decade, we know that the writing has been a lot lazy. They don't stick to gimmicks. They don't stick to feuds. They end feuds without any, true closure in any back and forth and start them up every week. There's no true build behind any of the characters on the main roster. It's just, well, we're gonna put this guy here and this guy here and this guy here and this guy here, and just kind of work itself out. So a lot of what Dean
I don't like you, so I'm gonna attack you, even though we were cool last week.
Absolutely.
But I don't like you now.
Right. And then 2 weeks later, somebody else and we're just gonna act like that feud never happened. And we get that all the time in WWE. So when Ambrose was pouring his heart out about his struggles with creative, I was a lot more receptive than I was, say, listening to somebody's post interview like, CM Punk, where he bashed pretty much everybody from catering to the doctor staff to wrestlers that he didn't want to put over to people he injured, and of course Triple H and Vince McMahon. Dean Ambrose was very professional about what he did, and he didn't sound, for lack of better words, he didn't sound like a bitter bitch after it was over with. And that's what made me more receptive to what he was saying than most other people that leave WWE. It was he felt like he was being held back as far as his creativity. At the end of the day, money doesn't matter for him. It's just about the art behind it, and you can tell that Dean Ambrose is a true friend. I mean, a true fan of wrestling. So definitely, I'm glad to see him go back to the Moxley character. Glad to see him go to AEW. Once again, if you guys haven't listened to that podcast, go out there and listen to that podcast with him on Talk is Jericho. Once again, get an hour and a half of free time, listen to the whole thing. It'll give a lot of insight to some of the stuff that we thought that we knew and some of the stuff that we may not have already known. We've given AEW a lot of time tonight. This is one of the few podcasts that we have that somebody else reigns supreme over WWE for the majority of the show. For one, I like that. I like that AEW is bringing that demographic to wrestling right now. Because even though shows like TNA and Ring of Honor air every week, but, there's nothing happening on those shows to the point for me to say, well, I'm going to put everything else on hold and cover Ring of Honor or cover Impact Wrestling,
Right.
AEW is starting off to a hot start, and I can't wait to see where they go from here. I'm ready to see the weekly shows, honestly. I know the pay-per-views are going to be great, but I'm ready to see the weekly shows to see what they're going to do to build up the roster from the bottom to the top.
No scripted promos.
No scripted promos.
What I'm more anxious to see.
Yeah,
I'm the most anxious. I'm sorry. Y'all go ahead.
Oh, you go ahead.
No,
What I'm the most. Excuse me, my son is up there screaming in the background. He's playing a video game with his father. So forgive me for one moment. But what I'm curious to see is, yes, you took 4 months to build to one pay-per-view. What stories are you going to be able to come with week after week after week in order to build off of that? Because WWE is 52 weeks a year nonstop.
Mm-hmm. And they're pushing 4 shows 52 weeks a year nonstop. 4 different shows, 4 different rosters that they're doing that on.
Exactly. So you're going to have to come up with something. Because, you can spend all of your time and all of your energy in putting on the best product you can for one pay-per-view when you got WWE doing 12.
Mm-hmm.
So let me find out. Let me find out that AEW is actually legit on their weekly shows and then to their pay-per-views. But right now, for me, it's too early to tell.
Yeah, I mean, everybody's definitely riding the high off of this event, as they should. Everybody should have high hopes for AEW. As we've said on the show before, I want to see AEW succeed in changing the industry and not just solely competing with WWE. Capitalize on the war if you want to, because it's going to bring buzz, but don't make that the staple of your company, because once it's over with, if you haven't put any stock into your own product, you're going to fall hard, just like TNA did, just like WCW did, just like many other companies failed before. Now,
83 weeks, WCW was on top. Now, 83 weeks, remember that.
That's absolutely true. WCW dominated the ratings, and we're going to highlight some more of that one as well. Going on, because I really loved WCW growing up, and I want to have a show that we dedicate to WCW to. But WCW did a lot of what people want AEW to do, and that was take a lot of the top talent from WWE and quote unquote use it better than them. And it works in the short term, but you can't NWO people to death for a decade and expect to keep going on. Just like I like Cody Rhodes, I like Kenny Omega. Not really a huge fan of the Young Bucks, but what I don't want to see is them elite and Bullet Club us to death in this company. Give us somebody outside of those guys to be invested in. Build more stars other than the guys that are running the company. And that is all I got to say about that.
or the guys who are from WWE or the WWE guys. Build your own people.
Absolutely.
Don't focus your entire roster around Dean Ambrose. Don't focus your entire roster around Chris Jericho. You got to build from your homegrown talent, and that's where TNA's mistake was. They focused on the WWE quote-unquote rejects than they did on AJ Styles and Samoa Joe. And where are they now?
They put AJ Styles and Samoa Joe and Christopher Daniels and Petey Williams. They put guys like that on the back burner so Kurt Angle could have every title in the company. So Sting could have every title in the company. You know, for Bobby
Jeff
Lashley.
Hardy.
Yeah, Jeff Hardy and Bobby Lashley to come in and dominate. You know, so it was a lot of mistakes that end up getting made when you're trying to use guys that were already built in other companies as your main event. Now, there is one name out there that a lot of people want to see signed to AEW, and even though I'm not a fan of his fans, it's one guy that left the WWE a few years ago, and you hear people chanting his name all the time now. A lot of speculation saying that CM Punk may sign with AEW. I, for one, said months ago that would be what they need to do if they want to draw fans in. That's the biggest name on the market, and that would be who I would be throwing money at right now. It's just, if you want to start a war with WWE and you want to do it right, even though we recommend not doing it, that's the guy that you pick up. And a matter of fact, not just CM Punk, throw money at CM Punk and AJ Lee.
Bang. I think that'd be dope.
If you can nab both of them, that would be enough to say, ooh, like WWE might have a problem on their hands early.
Oh yeah, most
I'm
definitely.
sorry, but with the current storyline, the best in the world storyline that Shane McMahon is currently doing is just begging for CM Punk to come back.